So our ongoing NCUWM theme is Inspiring Women for Generations. So we really hope that you leave here feeling inspired and go on to continue to inspire others as well. Now, if you've been here before, you know that this is a time I introduce you to many key people at NCWM this year and tell you a little bit about this year's conference. First, it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Marco Barker, Vice Chancellor of Diversity and Inclusion, who is here to welcome you on behalf of the university.
Thank you so much. So first, good afternoon to everyone. I am our Vice Chancellor for Diversity and Inclusion, and on behalf of Chancellor Ronnie Green and the entire University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I joined Dr. Kelly in welcoming you to this year's Nebraska Conference for Undergraduate Women in Mathematics Experience. I had the opportunity to attend the opening session last year, and I have to tell you that I was completely, I think impressed is not the word because I know that women are brilliant. But I would say that I was encouraged and inspired by the scholars like you who attended and who attend this conference. But I think much more inspired by what you represent. I mean, you represent the future leadership, innovators, inventors, problem solvers of our nation. And especially in a world where we know there's a history that operated on the basis of exclusion. And so your representation and you being here is extremely powerful for all, but essentially I would say powerful for young girls and young girls of color who are following your example and looking up to you. Attending this conference also represents a continuation of a legacy of women before you who have and continue to advocate and insist that their voices are heard, perspectives are respected, and intellect is valued. And so you are their legacy and absolutely our continued future. And so I appreciate your involvement in today's or this weekend's experience, which certainly represents our university commitment, but I will also say the Department of Mathematics belief that equity and inclusion is tied to and is required for excellence. And so if we are trying to achieve excellence, we have to be thoughtful about who's at the table and who's participating if we're going to solve, again, the world's biggest problems. And so while we may not be physically gathered together on the campus of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, our institution recognizes the importance that being a land-grant institution, so we have locations across the entire state of Nebraska that with that comes a responsibility. And I suspect like your institutions, we're located on land, on the future, past, and present homelands of which our state occupies. And so that includes the land of the Pawnee, Ponca, Missouri, Omaha, Dakota, Lakota, Arapaho, Cheyenne, the Kaw peoples, the Winnebago Nation, as well as the relocated Ho-Chunk, Iowa, and Sycofox peoples. And so we are grateful to our own Native and Indigenous historian, Margaret Hiddle, who does this research for us. And I hope that you're able to research at your own institutions the land on which your particular university occupies. And so with the recent inauguration of new leadership and thinking about the future of our nation and where we go from here, I think it's really important to remember the history of our nation. And so considering the importance of Native history and culture as you move forward in this experience, I thought I would share with you a poem by U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo of the Muskogee Creek Nation, and she belongs to the Achiabafa or Hickory Ground peoples. And so I will let you hear from her directly.
Remember the sky you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon, know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give birth. You are evidence of her mother and her mother and hers. Remember your father, he is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth, we are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life, who all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk with them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind. Remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember that you are all people and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember, the dance language is that life is. Remember.
And so I would say that as you continue in this experience, I would ask you to remember that the future and the vision of the field of mathematics is you. And you are the future and vision of mathematics. Remember. And so please be safe, be well, and enjoy today's and this weekend's conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Barker. I like to see all these applause virtually. It's very nice. I'm also delighted to introduce Professor Tom Marley, who is the chair of the Department of Mathematics at UNL.
Thanks, Christine. Now I'm struggling with reactions. Oh, I was waiting for the clap to go off, and okay, I guess it goes off automatically. Okay. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to help welcome you on behalf of the Department of Mathematics to the 23rd Annual Nebraska Conference for Undergraduate Women in Mathematics. So some of you may have been here last year or perhaps 2 years ago, but many of you are here for the first time and may not be familiar with how this conference got started. So I get the pleasure of telling you a bit about its history. So in 1998, the department was honored to receive a presidential award for excellence in science, mathematics, and engineering mentoring, primarily in recognition for the department's success in mentoring women graduate students. Accompanying the honor was a $10,000 award, which the department was encouraged to use to build upon its mentoring accomplishments. So together, Jim Lewis and Judy Walker, who had spearheaded the nomination effort, came up with the idea of a national conference showcasing mathematical research achievements by prominent women mathematicians and undergraduates, and providing mentorship and encouragement for women to pursue graduate study in math and math-related careers. So in 1999, the first conference was held and hosted 50 participants from around the country. And the conference has grown immensely over the years. And this year we have 274 undergraduate participants and 360 total participants, including non-UNL faculty and invited guests. So this event is made possible through the efforts of many people, notably the conference organizing committee, which is co-chaired by Professor Christine Kelly and Alex Zupan, along with our outstanding support team of both staff, faculty, and graduate students and undergraduates. The conference is also made possible through the generous support of the National Science Foundation and the National Security Agency. So I would like to recognize them, and I'd like everyone to give them a virtual thanks using the clap feature on your Zoom screen that I just used. And let's thank you for the people at NSF and NSA who have made this conference possible. Okay. Further, many of you were encouraged by your home institution to attend this conference and possibly received financial support to attend it. So I would ask that you please thank your department chairs or advisors for their support and tell them about your hopefully amazing experience here this weekend. And finally, I want to give a special shout out to all of the non-UNL faculty who are attending this conference with their students. In addition to supporting their students, we put many of these people to work as discussion leaders, session chairs, and other roles. So if you are one of these faculty, I would ask that you raise your virtual hand so we can see you and recognize you. All right. Thanks all of you. And so welcome again to the conference, and I'll give things back to Christine.
Thank you, Tom. It's great to see all of you here. I'd like to take this time to briefly introduce our plenary speakers and invited professionals. What we're going to do is I'm going to read through the names, and we're going to try Zoom spotlighting so that their pictures come up where you can see them. And for that to be easier, we're going to read through them alphabetically by first name, which is a little unusual. So if you are someone whose name is going to be called, please turn on your video if you're comfortable and give a wave when your name comes up. Okay, this year I'm pleased to say we have our plenary speakers, Dr. Cecilia Aragon from the University of Washington. Can give a wave.
Hi.
Dr. Ruth Haas from University of Hawaii Manoa and current president of AWM. Dr. Talitha Washington, director of the Atlanta University Center Data Science Initiative. I'll just continue in case, I'm not sure if it's a Zoom slowdown, but I'll just continue going. We also have many invited professionals, including Dr. In Hui Kim from the National Science Foundation, Ms. Julia Reed LaBelle from Nike, Dr. Carolyn, oh, there you are. Dr. Carolyn Purcell from Service Robotics and Technologies, Ms. Kimberly Sharepoff from the National Security Agency, Dr. Laura White from NASA, Dr. Martha Yip from the University of Kentucky, Dr. Shanice Walker from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, and Dr. Tomek Bartoszynski from National Science Foundation. So let's give a virtual applause to thank these wonderful people for participating in NCUWM. Okay, we've also invited several graduate students from a variety of math grad programs who are here to share their insights with you. And so invited grads, please wave when your name is called. We have Gage Martin from Boston College. Oh, there's Shanice. Oh, that's a different picture, sorry. Gage Martin, I think, is here somewhere. It takes a while to sift through the list of participants when the group is so large. Thank you, Gage. Haley Bertrand from Indiana University Bloomington. Mackenzie Simper from Stanford University. Miriam Kagan from Emory University. Nicole Bukowski from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I know she's here. We'll just be surprised when the video pops up. And Rachel, oh, there you are, Nicole. And Rachel Kanak from the University of Arizona. So let's thank our invited grads for being here as well. Now, many of the grad students, faculty members, and invited professionals that are here today actually attended NCUWM as undergrad participants. So if you are not currently an undergrad, but did attend NCUWM as an undergrad, let's give a digital thumbs up to show that you're one of those people. Awesome. That's convenient that you're front and center, Rachel. So these are examples of success stories from NCUWM. And we hope that you also continue on your mathematics journey. I am now delighted to introduce our first plenary speaker, Dr. Cecilia Aragon. Dr. Aragon earned her BS in mathematics from Caltech and her PhD in computer science from UC Berkeley in 2004. She is now professor and director of the Human-Centered Data Science Lab at the University of Washington. In 2016, she became the first Latina full professor in the College of Engineering at UW in its 100-year history. Dr. Aragon specializes in human-centered data science. She has over 140 publications on topics including data science, visual analytics, machine learning, and even astrophysics, including a couple books and 6 Best Paper Awards. Dr. Aragon has advised 12 PhD students, as well as many other student interns and research assistants. Should we spotlight her, Alex? Thank you. Okay, Dr. Aragon is an award-winning educator and scholar who's been honored for her accomplishments in both areas. She received the prestigious Presidential Early Career Award for Scientists and Engineers, as well as numerous grants exceeding $28 million. Her excellence extends to many other areas as well, as we're sure to learn about in her talk. I'm going to leave some of it to be a surprise. Okay, so it is with great pleasure to introduce Dr. Cecilia Aragon.
Thank you very much, Christine, and thank you all for inviting me. It's a tremendous honor to be here at this conference, and I'm super excited to get to know some of you better, as I have been a long time supporter of women and underrepresented groups in mathematics, and I'm so excited that so many of you are interested in this wonderful subject. So thanks for the warm welcome, and I'm going to, I have talks, I have slides for my talk, and I have a video. And I'm going to have to say that this talk will probably be a little different from what you mostly hear at mathematics conferences, because I decided to put quite a bit of my personal life and non-academic career in there as well, because I think it's actually very important, particularly for women or underrepresented groups, to acknowledge that we do have many our personal lives are intertwined with our careers and may make it either more difficult or easier. And it's much better to see that and to see the patterns than to just ignore it and say, well, we're just, sort of mathematical machines, who have brilliant minds and nothing else. So I'm going to, let's hope I can manage to share my screen properly. I think I'll start with the video before I jump into the, all right, before I jump into the talk. And now, for some reason, I can't, It's not showing me the window I wanted to share. So I'm going to just share this entire screen for now. So let me know if there are any problems with either the video or the. I was afraid of just about everything.
Dr. Aragon, are you sharing your screen right now?
Self-doubt and fear of failure continued into her 20s.
So I was afraid of just about everything. I was afraid of heights. Certainly I was afraid of flying. I was even afraid of getting in an elevator.
Cecilia Aragon overcame several phobias to become a solo pilot in the mid-80s, and in the span of 6 years, the first Latina on the U.S. aerobatic team.
I was the last person that anybody would have predicted that I would learn to fly a small airplane.
Once a shy girl who excelled in math, Cecilia was raised in the Midwest by a Filipino mother and Chilean father, and went on to navigate the sky with high speed and precision. As a young girl, she says that she was bullied and that teachers dismissed her.
It made me think that maybe there was something wrong with me.
Self-doubt and fear of failure continued into her 20s, but a turning point came in 1985, 1 week into her job as a Silicon Valley software developer.
I was saying no to everything new, and I was just doing kind of the minimum I could to get by. And my friend, Carlos, one day, he said, "How'd you like to go for a ride in a small plane?" I decided that it was time to face my fears, just this once. We took off, and it was so beautiful.
The moment convinced her to take lessons.
Before I learned to fly, I was often depressed and sad, but as soon as the wheels left the ground, I felt something inside me lift.
Soon after, she set her sights on aerobatics, but she had to overcome another challenge.
I'm only 5'2" and 100 pounds. My feet didn't reach the rudder pedals. So I had a set of special shoes made, kind of like platform shoes.
Cecilia has more than 60 contests under her belt. She even won a team bronze medal at the World Championships in 1994 before retiring from the sport.
Each day, I would make myself do something that was just a little scary. You know, the first day I didn't say, "Oh, I'm gonna go fly loops and rolls." No, the first day I just said, "I'm gonna drive to the airport without throwing up."
Strategies she used in the air helped this computer scientist chase dreams in another field where Latina women are also underrepresented. Cecilia earned her PhD in 2004. Then in 2009, her work was honored with the Presidential Early Career Award for scientists and engineers.
I pointed my airplane straight at the ground at 250 miles an hour. If I can do that, I can apply for a job as a professor. So I did, and now I am a full professor at the University of Washington. It's the job I was born to do.
I'm going to be talking about what I call human-centered data science.
I believe really strongly that flying is what gave me freedom in life. I haven't stopped being afraid. But what I do know now is that whenever I am afraid, I turn to my inner strengths and I tell myself I can do this.
Incredible advice. She's an amazing person. And Cecilia has also left her mark on computer science. She says when people access a database, chances are they're using software that she wrote. And with all of her accomplishments in male-dominated fields, she's also living out her dream of following in her father's footsteps. He, too, was a professor. If you're interested in hearing more of her story, the book, again, is called Flying Free.
That's so good. We may not jump out of a plane or fly a plane, but we can push ourselves.
And there are things you're scared to do.
Right.
And you just have to find it inside you to get through it. Take that first step.
Yeah, it was very good.
All right. So am I back? Okay, great. Thank you. Now I'm going to try sharing my slides. Let me make sure I can do this better. Here we go. All right, can you see the slides? Great. Okay. So first of all, thanks everyone. I do want to say that that story that they did on me was fun, but it leaves out a lot of the kind of messy details. So my talk is called From Flying Geometry to Random Forest in the Stars, a Math Story. And so I'm going to focus on two of my careers. That of being an aerobatic pilot and a member of the United States aerobatic team, and also my career as a data scientist and professor. So, as I said, I'm going to talk about my personal life as well, because I think that emotional self-confidence issues are incredibly important, particularly for women in challenging careers that have often been considered meritocracies. I know that as a child, even though I loved math, I experienced some kind of active discrimination from teachers. And one of the things that I have really devoted my adult self to doing is encouraging other people who may have been discouraged by people around them. And one of the things that discouraged me when I was in high school, or even as an undergraduate math major, is that whenever I heard a talk by some accomplished person, their position always seemed so unattainable. It's like, oh, they magically got all these, awards and these really difficult positions, and they did all this research that required a lot of intelligence. And I thought, oh, there's no way that I'm smart enough to do all those amazing things. And I want to tell you that it's a lot like, so I remember when I was in 3rd grade and I saw a copy of the 8th grade math textbook, and probably a lot of you have a similar experience, is that it seemed impossibly difficult, full of these incomprehensible symbols and squiggles. And I remember thinking to myself, even in 3rd grade, even I'm supposed to be good at math, but I'll never be smart enough to understand that. And so someday it's all going to come back on me, and I will discover that I'm a failure and an imposter. But of course, by the time I got to 8th grade, I'd had the building blocks to go step by step to understand what was done in that 8th grade text. And it even seemed easy. And so in today's talk, I'm hoping to show you something that I wish I had known when I was an insecure undergrad, enjoying, but sometimes struggling in math. It was not always easy for me. When I did math, when I was quite young, it was easy. But when I got into college and started doing more advanced math, it got hard. And at first I thought, that means I'm not suited for it. And I want to tell you all now, that is not true. Just because something is difficult for you doesn't mean that you're not suited for it. As a matter of fact, it might mean that it's exactly right for you, because it'll be really interesting for a long time. So if it's too easy, it might, you should challenge yourself and do something that's a little bit more challenging. All right. Okay. So you should know, so first of all, I'm standing up here as somebody with supposedly some accomplishments. And I know if I'd been in your shoes, I would have said to myself then, oh, she's amazing. She got everything because it was all handed to her and it was all so easy. No, it wasn't true. If you see in my book, everything that happened in the aerobatic career, I had to fight for. Even getting my degrees, I had to fight for them. I had trouble financially. It was a struggle from beginning to end. The stories that we often hear smooth over those self-doubts and those difficulties and those insecurities. So I was an extremely shy and timid person. Nobody really noticed me in school. But inside, I didn't feel like I was gray and colorless. I thought, there were things I wanted to do. And yet I felt that I was kind of trapped. Well-meaning adults would give me advice like, well, just be yourself. But that was useless to me because I wanted to join in conversations, to reach out to people I liked, but I couldn't. I just couldn't talk. And the reason why was really because of anxiety and fear, paralyzing fear. I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of heights, to doing anything risky, to talking to classmates in the cafeteria, and especially to making speeches in front of an audience. I would never have believed I could do something like this. So here I was trapped in this glass box, and I felt like I was banging on it and shouting as loud as I could. But nobody heard me. And I knew even then that I didn't want to live this way, but I had no idea how to get out. So what made me so fearful? Well, I grew up in a small Midwestern town, and my parents were immigrants. They both spoke with thick accents. My dad is from Chile and my mom from the Philippines, and they just did not know anything of what life was like here in the United States. They never spoke, they never got involved in school, they never encouraged, they never talked to my teachers about anything, no matter what. And as a result, at the beginning of each school year, my teachers assumed that because I was Hispanic, that I should be placed in the slow reading group, even though I was kind of a smart kid. So I was diagnosed with a speech defect in the first grade. And I remember writing an essay that used a lot of big words. I thought it was especially articulate, but then my teacher accused me of plagiarism because she said someone like me, by which she meant a daughter of Hispanic immigrants, couldn't possibly know English that well. And that teacher wasn't trying to be cruel. I mean, I really believe she was doing what she thought was the best for me and for everybody else. But you can imagine the message that's given to a young child. And those messages can stick and they can grow and they can limit you later in life. I mean, so for me, I know those types of message, and that was just one example of many. You know, I was one of the few non-white kids in my elementary school. And one of my teachers even told me to mark black on a census form, you know, and I said, what? And she said, well, you sure as heck aren't white. And so, you know, you get all these confusing messages and you're told things that, that lead to low expectations of you. And that's why I dropped out of school later in my life. And I thought I just wasn't good enough. Whenever something happened to me that was, you know, like I ran into a difficult math proof, I thought, oh, this must mean that I'm not good enough to be a mathematician. So I'm hoping not just for those of you who are beginning your careers, but for those of you who are a little bit older, that you think about taking that message to the young people you know, especially in underrepresented groups and in women, you know, groups of women or girls, that people can be cruel without realizing it. You can have the best intentions, and yet because we all grow up in a society that is plagued by systemic racism and systemic sexism, this is unconscious bias. We all treat other people according to this bias. And it's really important to try to fight it in yourself and acknowledge it in yourself. Whenever I hear somebody say, oh, I'm not a racist, I know they are a racist. Even though I got all these negative messages, I want to say it's real, but it is possible to fight them, and you can fight them. And this is how I did it. So first, I mean, because this is a math conference, you probably have guessed, the spoiler alert is that I found solace in something that always made sense to me. And so here's the beauty of math and how it, being a mathematician, really, really helped me to accomplish everything I've done in my life. My English teacher might accuse me of plagiarism, but in math, if I get the answers right, none of my teachers could mark me down. You know, I would get the best score in the math class, and they couldn't accuse me of plagiarism. You know, and I was also incredibly lucky, is that I had one person's support, and that person was my dad. Whenever I did well in math, he would tap my head and say with this huge grin, "This brain works." So really all you need is one person early on who silences those low expectations that have been imposed on you by everyone else and proves to you that you can soar. So mine was so powerful that I actually ended up literally soaring as an aerobatic pilot in addition to becoming a mathematician and a scientist. And for me, it was my dad, but it can be a teacher. It can be a relative. It can be a person you meet at a conference like this who tells you, you are brilliant. And I have to say, I really think that every woman here who has overcome the stereotypes and who is now a math major as an undergraduate, you have it in you to be a brilliant career mathematician. You have it. Do not let anyone tell you that it's a meritocracy and you didn't get it. You have fought these battles and you have won, and you have to keep fighting because it's not going to be easy. So I have to say, so this is the luck that I had in having a father who always believed in me. Now, I know not a lot of people have dads who at all, and a lot of people have not had somebody who believed in them. But I'd like to encourage everyone, as an undergraduate, you too can be that mentor for somebody younger than you, or for a peer. You can, when somebody comes to you and says, you know, I'm thinking of dropping out of the math major because I don't think I'm smart enough. It's too hard for me. You can be the person who says, no, if you're having a problem in a class, it's not you, it's your teacher. All right. And you maybe need a little extra help. Maybe you need a few more step-by-step bits of instruction. And maybe your teacher, not because they're a bad teacher, but maybe they're used to teaching someone who has had those building blocks. So you need to go out and find somebody who can help you. And those of you who are doing well, help your classmates, because we're all in this together. I mean, it's not a competition. I do have to say this. There's this pervasive myth in the United States that we're in this meritocracy and it's all a competition. But I have found that by working together with other people, doing math problems collaboratively, we can solve some really amazing problems. So I'm going to do a little digression here that isn't in my talk, and I'm hoping that I'll be kept on track by Christine. But I just want to say, so when I was first in my PhD program, I was taking this really challenging math class. And I was just thinking, you know, I'm just not good enough for this. And there were 3 of us who formed a study group together. And 2 of us really were struggling. And there was one person who just seemed to be, I thought this person was really brilliant. And I remember thinking, I am leeching off of this person. I'm just getting information from them and it's not really fair. But I was so desperate to learn the material that I stuck it out. But then many years later, I ran into the same person again. And the first thing they said to me, do you remember that first year study group we had when we were doing math together? You know, that was the best experience of my PhD program. It's what convinced me that I should continue as a PhD in math and should keep on studying, because I learned so much from the 2 of you. So you never know. You could, maybe what you're seeing, if you think you're just, you know, always asking stupid questions, maybe you're also teaching. So just remember that, okay? Because you grew up in a society where you were told things that might be wrong, you may not have the self-confidence that you really deserve to have. All right. So this is one of the reasons also that I work a lot with girls and women in STEM, because there is no substitute for being comfortable with math and facing a room of people who don't believe in you, and then you silence the room with your love of numbers. Math is kind of a magic trick this way. It is so powerful. And it is really wonderful. So I tell girls that I work with today, don't ever let a screwed up system screw up your definition of yourself. You see, I always blamed myself. I always thought whenever anything went wrong, I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't good enough in math. But really looking back on it, a lot of those awards I did not win were because I was a Latina or a woman. For example, when I was in high school, my geometry teacher always mentored the top math student for the Math Olympiad. But in my year, he mentored the second best student, who happened to be a white male. I didn't really realize that that was discrimination. I thought, oh, maybe I'm just not really smart, even though my grades in math are the best in this class. And as a result, I never took the Math Olympiad. I never got that kind of mentoring. And so when I got to college, I kind of felt like I was a little bit behind, because I went to a school that had students, you know, Caltech is a school where there are students that came from really good schools. I came from this small public high school in Indiana where we had no AP classes, no advanced classes really. So I was a little behind. But what I tell people today is, remember that it's the system, not you, because what I actually had to do was go into this completely different career before I could find my truth and my success as a mathematician. And for me, the way I broke free of my fears was through picking the thing that was the scariest possible thing I could imagine: flying a small airplane. So people often ask me, well, how did I get started flying? Nobody in my family flew. Nobody paid for any of my lessons. I had to work 2 jobs to pay for my lessons. And my parents both thought aviation was dangerous. So even though they were supportive of me in math, they weren't so supportive of the aviation. And the fact is that what I realized later on is that if it hadn't been for facing my fears through doing something that was really scary to me, I would not have been able to overcome all the discrimination and prejudice that I experienced in my PhD program at Berkeley and on into my career. So it may not be flying for you. It probably won't be, but I would counsel you to look at what is it that gives you strength. Who are the people around you who help you have confidence in yourself, and surround yourself with those people and those ideas. So if you're interested in how I got started flying when I was so scared that I almost flunked out of flight lessons multiple times, and I was one of the slowest students any of my instructors ever had. You're welcome to pick up a copy of my memoir, Flying Free. You don't have to pay for it. I always encourage people to get it from the library. Libraries are wonderful and they're free, and you can get all sorts of amazing books from them. My book is in libraries everywhere. And if it's not there, you can request that it be added. All right. But this is a conference about math and not about flying. But I will say that the process of going through learning to fly ended up using a lot of math, sort of surprisingly to me. I mean, it was not advanced math. It was, you know, nothing beyond calculus. But calculus is a big part of the mathematics and physics that enable aircraft to fly. So I still had a lot of fears as I was learning to fly, but as I did, I kept discovering that I could go back to math and it would help me get over the problems I was having in developing a skill. And it started out just flying upright, making turns. You need to understand a lot of basic mathematics and physics. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And then that gave me confidence to try to do the more challenging things in flying that were just scary, because I thought, oh my God, I'm going to die. You have to realize that I wasn't just an ordinary person scared of flying. I had extreme phobias. I was scared of heights. I was scared of elevators. I was scared of escalators. I mean, I was scared of everything. I used to go upstairs rather than take an elevator 9 flights because I was so scared of that elevator. So the fact that I was able to fly and start to use that was incredibly powerful for me. And I should also say, I loved flying. When I was a little girl, other than math, the other thing I really loved was reading books about magical people that knew how to fly, and they could just fly through the trees and levitate. And I said, I want to do that. I want to have magic. Well, you know, the magic, I found magic in 2 things, in math and in small airplanes. So that goes to show you that even unattainable fantasies can be true if you just open your mind a little bit to what they are. So yeah, so that's a picture of me flying upside down in an airplane that was built for me to fly at the World Aerobatic Championships. And if you're interested in how I got from being kind of a broke student pilot to winning a medal at the Olympics of Aviation, that's the story in the book. Now, how am I doing on time, Christine? You want to hold up fingers?
Maybe we're supposed to end in 15 minutes, but we started late, which is our fault. So if we could end the talk maybe in 15 and then to have a few minutes for questions, does that sound okay?
That's perfect.
So 10 to 15 or whatever you can manage.
Absolutely perfect, yes. So, all right. I started, so I'm going to tell you since I have time, I'm going to tell you a couple of the obstacles that I encountered while flying. And I'm going to say these are they're similar to obstacles I encountered in my career as a mathematician and computer scientist. The first aerobatic flight, my instructor showed me a loop, which is a vertical circle in the sky. And after one maneuver, I loved it, but I realized I was nauseous and I had to go down, even after spending all this money to start this, to pay for this flight. So I thought, okay, maybe I won't be able to do this, because I should tell you too, I was one of those people that got extremely car sick. Even in cars, I would throw up. I mean, so I didn't just feel nauseous, but I would actually vomit. So I thought maybe this type of flying is out of reach for me. But what I discovered is the proof of mathematical induction, how all you have to, it's kind of like, I explained to non-mathematical people that it's about like the domino effect, that, I always thought it seemed unfair, kind of like a trick, because wait, if you prove the first case and then you prove that the case after that one, after one, if you prove it's true for n, you can show it's true for n plus 1. How can that work for an infinite number of cases? That seems like magic. It doesn't seem like logic, like reality. But the fact is that mathematical induction is not only a powerful technique in the field of mathematics, it's also incredibly powerful for life. So one of the things I discovered with math and with overcoming nausea is that you do the first step. And for me, the first step was going up in that airplane, overcoming my fear. And, and for nausea, it was going up there and not throwing up. I discovered that every flight afterwards, I could make progress bit by bit. I could take that step from n to n plus 1. And you know what? I used that to get from a terrified pilot to an aerobatic champion. I used it to get from somebody who was sick every time she flew in an airplane to someone who had a cast iron stomach and nothing bothered me. Even roller coasters, which by the way are a lot worse than aerobatic airplanes. So, and I can say also, I've taught hundreds of flight students, I've taught hundreds of aerobatic students, and everybody has some trouble with nausea when they first start doing aerobatics. Not usually as bad as me, but they have some trouble. But it almost always goes away after the first few flights. And if people keep on with it, they can always get over it. Here's something again, it's, you're either a person that gets sick with a weak stomach or you're a person that has a strong stomach. No, that's not true. You can go from one step to the other. You can build each of those steps. So, oh good, I still have time. All right. So yeah, one of the problems they mention here's another supposedly insurmountable problem. I'm 5'2", and airplanes in the United States are built for the average male. Let's be honest about it, who is about 5'10" and weighs about 180 pounds. So if you're far away from that, like I was 8 inches too short, and planes, there was just no way for me to fit. This plane that I flew, that I wanted to fly by myself in a contest, the minimum pilot weight was 140 pounds. Well, it turns out that I weigh 100 pounds. So not only could I not reach the rudder pedals, I was too short I was too light to even be legal in the airplane. And actually the plane will not fly if you're that far out of the range. So I couldn't even fly it. So I had to actually load up the plane with weights just to get to the minimum. And I had to have these special shoes made. And I will say that everybody told me, well, it's impossible. You can't change your height. Well, you could change your weight by eating a lot of ice cream, but it's probably not going to happen. So again, too many girls that I talk to say, I mean, even accomplished women will say, well, I'm not a math person. I'm not good enough for math. It's like, what? No, no. You can learn math. Everybody can learn math. In other countries that don't have the US biases, you'll go and ride with a taxi driver and they'll say, oh yeah, I was really good in math when I was a kid. I mean, 80 to 85% of people say, yes, I'm good at math. That is not true in the United States. So we need to change that. And I hope that this conference and all of you here will be doing your bit step by step to change that and to make the US a country where everybody can say, I love math. I don't know math now, but I will learn it. And it is fun and beautiful. And if you are having trouble learning it, I will help you. So, all right. So I'm going to have to cut the talk short because I'm spending too much time on the personal stuff and not enough on the mathematical and technical stuff. But for all of those, I've written a lot of papers, but I do want to say that I ended up with a good career in aerobatics and won a bronze medal for the United States at the World Aerobatic Championships. And I was super proud of that. And having done that, having gone from somebody who was afraid of flying and kind of clumsy, I had no talent for flying, but ended up doing very well. And so that made me think, well, you know what? What about math? I thought I wasn't good enough to do math because of the experiences I had in college and in graduate school that led me to drop out. But after doing the flying, I said, you know what? I know I was good in math when I was a kid. I can go back to that. So I went back to UC Berkeley and I got a PhD in computer science. And I thought about getting, by the way, I thought about getting one in math too. And I did get admitted into the PhD program in mathematics at UC Berkeley. But what had happened to me is I had discovered computer science and I kind of fell in love with it because it kind of felt like a superpower and I could put my math into the computation and it was just really cool. So the point too that I want to make is that today I have a career as a data scientist and a researcher, and it's really all built upon my undergraduate degree in math. So you don't have to become a pure mathematician, although that's a wonderful career. But math is a great undergraduate major, and it can serve you so well in so many fields. All right. So in my last 5 or so minutes, let me just talk briefly about the rest of my career. And so what happened is I went to get a PhD in computer science at Berkeley, and I dropped out. And I thought I was a failure. I thought I would never go back. I got a master's, which is the consolation prize master's, and I felt like a failure. But that's when I went into flying, and that gave me the courage to go back and return for my PhD, which I got in 2004 after probably the longest leave in the history of that department. After that, I really wanted to be a professor. I just want to say, I've always wanted to teach and to teach other people math. And I've actually done a lot of teaching of math from middle schoolers to second graders to college and graduate school. So it's just something I've done all my life. But I thought, oh my gosh, there are 400 applicants for every faculty position, and everybody says it's impossible to get a faculty job. Hey, I was able to fly, right? Maybe I can apply for faculty positions. So I did, and I got 6 offers. So do not let other people tell you, oh, there's no jobs. Don't let people tell you that. You can find the jobs. Right, and especially with a degree in math. Although I will say, right after I got my math degree from Caltech, I remember I sent out 50 resumes and I did not get one request. Well, I got one interview. The guy that interviewed me said, well, we were really looking for a young man. So yeah, so it's not a guarantee. I have worked in many, many cool fields. And one of the coolest is in astrophysics. And so I'm going to just talk very briefly over the next couple minutes. If you are interested, I do have papers out on this topic that are not difficult to understand. But what they are, this is work that I did looking for a particular type of exploding star called a type 1a supernova. And these are the largest thermonuclear explosions in the universe. And they are so cool. That picture there shows that they are actually almost as bright as their host galaxy. One star out of 400 billion stars can outshine it. And the advantage of this particular type of supernova is that it's a standard candle. So you can actually use it to look at what happens with you can actually look at it to measure the expansion rate of the universe. I'm going through this super fast, but that's essentially what it is. And to do this, you have to gather huge amounts of data. I mean, so this is where math helps me as a data scientist. This was my specialty, is I collected very large amounts of data. And I used some machine. So I joined a group of physicists. And by the way, I should say this too. So I was the only woman in the group. I was the only non-physicist in the group. And at first, the people didn't really trust me. They thought, you know, what are you doing? But I was able to use mathematical algorithms like support vector machines and random forests to actually significantly improve their supernova search. When I joined the project, sorry that I have to skip through all this, but when I joined the project, it took the postdocs in the group, there were 6 postdocs, and they spent 4 hours a day manually looking at some of the data. After I implemented various algorithms, it took one postdoc 1 hour a day to do it. And, so I once got a question to talk, oh, does this mean you put the postdocs out of work? And I said, no, it meant that instead of doing grunt work, they were able to write papers. And and if you look at the graph of papers written when I joined the project and implemented these mathematical tools for them, they went up dramatically. And I always love showing this next slide. I can't take any credit, but our principal investigator, Saul Perlmutter, actually won the Nobel Prize, the 2011 Nobel Prize in Physics for the work that I was a contributor to. And of course, I didn't have anything, it was his idea, right? But he himself said when he won his Nobel Prize, this was a team effort. And I couldn't have done it without everybody else. And I was one of the people he named. So this is the closest I'll ever get to a Nobel Prize. So I'll take it. As you all know, probably there's no Nobel Prize in mathematics. So yeah. All right, so I will skip some of the other work that I've been doing, but this is also very interesting. And I do want to say that, so in conclusion, I should say that having an undergraduate math degree enabled me not only to do this really cool and interesting technical work, which I will tell you, when I was an undergraduate, data science as we know it today did not exist because we didn't have this huge proliferation of data. So as a matter of fact, when data science, I was doing this work before it was called data science, but when it appeared on the scene, I'd been doing this sort of work already because I was prepared for it because of my math background. So you don't know what your math undergraduate degree will prepare you for. I imagine that in 20, 30 years, there's going to be completely new fields. But one thing I will say is the utility and beauty of math will persist. Even if you're doing work that there is no application for right now, you don't know what's going to happen in the future. And I encourage you to stick with it, even if it's challenging, believe in yourself, and remember that mathematical induction, take it day by day and build your inner strengths. And with that, you too will be able to fly free. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. Let's give her a round of applause. That was an awesome talk. I think if there are questions, participants, you may raise your hand, your virtual hand, or you can put a question in the chat. We can try to take maybe 2 questions now, but I'll remind you that Dr. Aragon will be on the panel later tonight as well. So you can also bring your questions there if they don't fit in this time. So
right. I'll have a mentoring workshop too. And I'm happy to talk to people. I love to talk to folks.
So I'll just wait a minute in case anyone puts a question. Oh, Stephanie Marsh is asking, what brought you to human-centered data science?
Oh boy, I have a whole talk on that too. But I started out doing a lot of mathematical algorithms at NASA, and I thought, oh, all that matters, I was kind of a hardcore mathematician. I said, all that matters is the efficiency of the algorithm. And then for the first project I was doing, I found out that there were aeronautical engineers who were using it, and they hated the software that I had participated in building. They even made fun of it. Until I realized, you know what? It doesn't matter how good or efficient software is if people won't use it. So I started turning toward looking at the human-centered piece. And the more I studied it, the more I realized this was really the growth area in computer science. Because rather than being sort of soft, which I'd always thought it was before, understanding how humans interact with technology is incredibly difficult, but incredibly important, especially as our world becomes more technologically connected. This is the grand challenge that we need to face right now. And this is why I moved into human-centered data science. Thank you for that question.
Okay, there are a couple more questions. One is you'd left for a few years and then went back. And so Nat Markich wants to know if there's extra challenges there, because there's a question now as they're graduating, should they take time off? Is that a mistake? Will they pay the price when they go back?
That is a great question. So how can I say this? I mean, normally I would say I don't recommend taking time off, but for me, it was great. And it gave me the confidence I needed. I also got a lot of experience working in industry, and so I knew I wanted to be a professor, but working in industry taught me how much I wanted to be a professor, because you have a lot more, you don't make as much money as a faculty member, but you do make a good middle-class living. And in industry, you are the whim of some guy, usually, in a position of power. And your work, no matter how good it is only good enough if it's good for a profit, right? I mean, that's the way our society works. So if you want to have impact, I mean, impact in the world, doing pure research, in my opinion, is the best path, because your work then is freely licensable to anybody else. It doesn't have to be locked up in a company. And it's also, I mean, so for me, I love working with students. I love doing research. I love being independent. I don't like it when a boss tells me what to do, especially when I usually know better than they do, but they think that I don't. So if you have a choice, I'd say stick with staying in school. But if you do have to come back, it is possible. So everybody told me that after, you know, my 14-year leave, that I would have trouble. And so of course I was scared, right? I thought, oh, maybe all those smart young guys are going to show me up in the PhD classes. Hey, but you know what? It turned out that all my experience made the classes really smooth for me. So you're not going to go wrong, no matter what you do. And also remember, I had kids too. I had kids, and I had to raise them first before I went back to school. I knew I couldn't go back and do my PhD until after my youngest child was 4. And that was just because my kids were kind of demanding. There are plenty of people who get pregnant in school and who go on to get their PhD or their bachelor's degree with a small child. So it is possible. It's difficult, but it's possible.
Okay,
So
I'm
yeah.
going to take a couple more questions. A couple questions are the same. Basically, some of these participants are future high school teachers or currently working with young students, and they would like to know, what is the best way to show the students that they have great ability? How do you convey encouragement and confidence?
All right, thank you for that wonderful question. That means so much to me. So I believe as a teacher, there are 2 things. There are 2 steps that are really important to do to help your students excel. One is to have a high bar. Don't let your students get away with low expectations. You expect them to do a lot. That's one. And then you tell them, I have full confidence you will meet those expectations. And I will provide scaffolding if you're having difficulties. So in my book, I tell a story. I'm going to tell it really briefly now because I think it's really important, because this is a perfect A/B test. All right. So people say, well, you, Cecilia, you were really smart as a kid. And I said, well, you know, that's not everything. It helps. It really does help, but it's not everything. So when I was in 10th grade, I was in Germany and I spent the year there, and I went to a German school. I knew a little bit of German, but not much. And so it so happens that in 10th grade in Germany, everybody takes the same classes. So I was put in a German literature class, an advanced German literature class, and in a 4th year French class. Now remember, I barely knew any German and I knew not one word of French. So, you know, you can imagine that my math teacher would think that I'd probably do pretty well in math, and I did. But the German teacher said, you know what? This is impossible for you. German literature is a very subtle and difficult subject. It would be cruel to make you do this work. So therefore, just sit in the back and do whatever you want. And then he proceeded to ignore me for the rest of the year. But my 4th year French teacher, when I said, this is the class I thought there was no way I could do. And she said, no, you are going to do all the tests. You are going to do every assignment. And on the first day, she gave me this dictation in French, where you have to write down what she said in French. You can imagine it was a mishmash. And then she graded it and handed it back to me full of red marks and said, great try. I'm going to find you a tutor, you know, a more advanced high school student who will volunteer to help you out. And she did. And, you know, I worked hard. All right. You know, so the tutor came to me a couple times a week and we worked on it. And I really, really worked hard. But I still remember in January, so right after the end of the semester break, half of the year had gone by, my French teacher came to me with this huge grin and she put my test down on the desk. And for the first time she'd given me a grade. It was the equivalent of a D-. I had passed my first test in 4th year French that was taught in German. Okay, and she said, congratulations, great job. I knew you could do it. And by the end of the year, I was one of the top 3 students in the class. Whereas in the German literature class, I failed. So here you have the same student, and the only difference was the teachers. So what I would say is be like that French teacher. You know, it seems a German language learner with no French background in a 4th year class, impossible. I hear this all the time for English language learners. But no, don't say just because that, you know, young Hispanic girl, you know, maybe doesn't speak English very well, don't say she needs to be in the remedial reading group. You know, expect that she's going to pick it up and then give her the tools that she needs to do it and then push her. We're seeing this now during the pandemic. Kids that were often thought of as behind, they're being given accelerated curriculum, and hey, guess what? They're living up to it. They're doing well. So high expectations and the scaffolding to help people to meet them.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. I think we have to stop due to time.